You mentioned the Holistic Healing Center, which is one of the many projects and so forth. But on that same note, we've been hearing lately that cocoa is good for stem cell production.
Correct.
Can we talk about a little bit about cocoa as it relates to health and healing practices? Are you able to share some knowledge on
No,
that?
I
Oh,
would not be able to at this point in time because there's still a lot of studies going on pertaining to it. I will give you a very simple example of a cocoa pod. We normally would get slice, cut, bruise at the estate because you fall, you slip, you may cut yourself with a blade. What we do, we go to the young pod, very young green pod on the tree. We scrape the top of the pod and we pack that around the wound that you just cut. Within less than 5 minutes, the bleeding stops.
wow.
And that scraping from the pod is because it's very slimy, stuff like that. It hardens around your finger. It becomes like a plaster. So it's like if I take you back to the office, put on the first aid kit, and then I put a plaster on it. Of course, you're feeling that bruise and that pain, but your wound gets very numb
Okay.
from that pod. And I'm a prime example because I cut off a piece of my finger, a tip of it just below the nail, that whole front piece that's sliced off.
Mm.
And that is what I used inside the bush. And I continued working there for nearly close to about 3, 4 hours after, before
Wow.
I came out.
Wow.
I left it on. I never took it off because it actually caked onto my finger. And within that, the next day, my wound was already scarred,
Wow.
right? And I went back in there and I actually did the same thing, scraped and put it back over it. I never used a band-aid on my finger, which in it. So there's a lot of potential if there's enough studies being done, and this is what we started to work on. Even with we wanted to do a liqueur off of the juices off of the cocoa when you're fermenting because remember all that drains off. It's very
Yeah.
acidic.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a guy out of Greece was down here, and he started to do some experiments with it, and even put it in the hyperbaric chamber because a lot of the enzymes in it that have to be taken care of that can be dangerous to an extent. It's very acidic,
Okay.
and he was very successful in what he's doing, but he never shared anything further because, again, I went the COVID came in and those issues that which I explained to you from the beginning.
Yes, God wills.
But yeah, so that's stuff. And we're in contact with each other up to yesterday
Okay.
because he's very interested in finding out how that estate is going because again, he started creating a big market for us out in Europe. But the idea about it is that they wanted the beans because it would have been much more cost effective for them.
Yeah.
And we would prepared to give you our bean.
Right.
So either you buy our product, you come down here, you do all your testing. We would allow you to use all our equipment to do your emulsifying of the bean, you see what you're buying, and then you pay us for what you're taking from us.
Right.
We're not allowing you just to take our bean and then you want to pay us next to nothing. And no, that's not going to happen. It was never going to happen.
Right.
And what we were going to do is that we would have been able to have the tonnage to supply year round. Because that's what you have to do. You have to create the bank. Because remember, your beans becomes your dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there now, as long as we created the bank, because you're doing it over a period of 2 years, 2 to 3 years, you're doing your storage. And within that period of time, you also will be buying up from surplus stock from other farmers. You give them a preferential rate. You also will give them again a royalty from. So they also on the back end of buying the beans from them, we would have then been able to give them preferential rate based on the testing of their soil, because you look at this of something like cadmium levels, different amount of iron, metals in the soil, which can mess the bean up.
Okay.
So that is why you have to be very, very careful in how we do this. So we had estimated within the space of from us starting getting this kicked off, within the first 4 years, we would have been something to reckon with within a period of time. That groundwork has already been in place. So we narrow it down to, as I said, about 1.5 to 2 years, because remember, you have to start working from your production also, from what you will have. And you're not going to be into profit in your first year.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, your labor is going to be more intensive because you have to bring the trees back to where they need to be.
Right.
Within your first year of your production.
Right.
There's a cost to that.